How are we? How are we? Hello everyone, welcome back to another Deadline stream. It is Game Week 9. Thank you all very much for joining. Apologies, I was a minute late. For anyone in who's been here a while will know exactly why I was late. I was making a cup of tea. Had to get my cup of tea ready for the stream. We are good to go. I've got all my fluids ready. We are 2 hours to go until the Game Week 9 deadline. Never on time. So here's the question for you. If the stream is scheduled, and this is a genuine question, right? If the stream is scheduled for 4:30 or 9 a.m. when it's the usual one, is that the time that it should go live and the timer should start, or should I go live before it so that the timer counts down and I start talking at the time? It's because in my mind, the stream should go live at the time, and then there's a few minutes of countdown of getting the stream ready, normally while I make a cup of tea, and then 2 or 3 minutes. So in my mind, I'm never late, but maybe it should be the other way around, and that's just an error on my part. But early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable. You are probably right. But anyway, let's get in and talk about it. Let's say hello to some of you in first. And then we'll get into all of the good stuff. We will talk, of course, about the Gabriel flag. We'll talk about Anderson. We'll talk about what I would do with both of those players, depending on what situation you're in, if you're considering a bench boost or all of that good stuff. So we'll go through all of that. Thank you all very much for joining. As we dive in, if you could drop a subscribe if you are new, like on the stream as well as we get started. And let's say hello to some of you in here. Hello to Hanny. Hello to Ian. Hello to Varon. Hello to FPL Vert. Hello to Diehard Kid. Hello to Kai. Hello to Sanderpan. Hello to James. All the members and moderators in. Fiona, I hope you are all doing well. Azor, Lukey, Immortal, Mikey Boy. Hello to all the members and moderators. Thank you especially for your support. And then to everyone else, to Stephen, to the Voltron, to Ishwar, to it's 2000, Josh, Lilordo, Omar, Tayton, Calvin, Yusuf, Mohammed, Wolverine, Zaki, Neil, Hazem, Rory, Royce, George, FPL Thomas, Usman, Sood, Philip, QWERTY, who else have we got? Agi, Spoken, Scotty, Jack, Achat, Traw, Jaylee, and who else have we got? Sorry. And Adam. Hello, everyone. Just a little note to you all. You may have noticed in my chat and other people's chats that your name is now showing up as your @ rather than actually as the name that you've got. So every channel has an @ and has a name. It's just like on Twitter that I have FPL Harry, and then I think I just have Harry above it, or FPL Harry. But a lot of people, their @ is different to their name. And on YouTube, they have changed it away from the name to the @ sign, and they are slowly rolling it out across all of YouTube, which is why you might see it being normal in some people's streams and not normal in other people's streams. Basically, what has happened is they are trying to cut back on the amount of people impersonating someone else. So, because you can have a different @ to someone, but you can make your name the same thing. Like, you may remember it happened to me a few times last year where someone like set up a new account, random channel, but put FPL Harry as their name. So that's basically to try and stop that from happening all over YouTube. So it might be that some of you want to have a look at changing the @ of your account, because it might just be a random jumble of numbers and letters to try and make it something similar to what you had before. But that is completely up to you, but that is it. It's not a setting that unfortunately I can change. I do my best to recognize everyone in the chat. And as I said, like, I feel like I've spent however long getting to know you all, building up a bit of a community and, you know, recognizing the names and faces in the chat just for after however many years for it to be changed and for a lot of you it to look completely different. So if you're in early and you're here normally, I am very sorry that I might not recognize your name or recognize your account if you're here every single week, but that is probably why. Just a little bit of an explanation, as this time last week when we streamed, there was a little bit of a confusion. It is, as FPL Versus said, it is really easy to edit. So if you want to go and edit it, you can. Yeah. But anyway, I hope you're all doing well. Let's talk about a couple of things first of all. The big thing, of course, is Gabriel, right? Gabriel has had the flag added to him today. I have put it in the hot topic section, effectively what I would do with him. He is a doubt. Arteta has said he is not trained yet. They do play on Sunday, so there is still time for him to train this afternoon and on Saturday before being included. It is a massive game for Arsenal, and I do think they will do everything they can to have him available for Crystal Palace at home, and then he to get a rest midweek in their Cup game. Who do they play? They in the Cup play at home to Brighton, and I would expect him to get a rest there. So if you have Gabriel, I wouldn't buy him if you don't own him already, unless you're on wildcard. If you're on wildcard, I would still own Gabriel. He's the best Arsenal defender for the long term. I expect he misses a maximum of one game. So on wildcard, I would still own him. If you haven't bought him and it's a free transfer, I wouldn't buy him now, even though I think he probably just about does start. And if you do own him, I would just start him. Please don't go benching Gabriel for a defender, because Gabriel is one of the best defenders in any specific week. And we've seen the amount of goal contributions that he adds. So if it's Gabriel or someone else, just start Gabriel. He's probably the best defender every single week. So just start Gabriel. And if he doesn't play, let something sub in off your bench. So for example, for me, right, I've got Gabriel, I've got Anderson, who's also red flagged. And it's just going to be what it will be with those three this week. That if Gabriel doesn't play, Anderson's not going to play, then I'll get Richards away at Arsenal. Now, Richards is very likely to get defensive contributions. And this is part of the beauty of having a defensive contribution defender on your bench, because unless they concede 4 goals or unless he gets booked, he's probably going to come away with a 3-pointer, which will be 2 goals conceded, going down to 1, but getting defensive contribution. So I'm pretty happy with having Richards to sub in the worst case scenario. I'm not going to force a transfer on Anderson. I think he'll be back next week. I'm definitely not going to force a transfer on Gabriel. I think he'll probably play this weekend. If not, he definitely will be back next week. So I'm not too worried about it. It's more what I want to do with the rest of my team. And we just sort of suck it up and deal with Gabriel being a little bit of a doubt for this game. There's not much we can do about it. Do not go selling him. And I would not be benching him, because he's either going to start or he's probably not going to be in the squad. So Enzo Fernandez, Enzo or Neto. So Enzo Fernandez is my favourite of all the Chelsea midfielders. I prefer him over Caicedo, I prefer him over Neto, and I prefer him over Esteval for the long term. I am planning on buying Enzo Fernandez during this stream. It's not guaranteed. I might well roll my transfer. You might well be surprised to hear, but I think I'll probably end up buying Enzo Fernandez this week. Part of the reason I'm slightly uncertain of it is just the injuries that I've got, because if, let's say Gabriel is actually a doubt, right? And then he was to be out next week. Let's say in the very small chance that Anderson was still out in game week 10 and Gabriel was also out in game week 10, I would suddenly be really short defensively. And Tarkowski is where I plan on getting that money from. So I'm not 100%. There is part of me that thinks if I take Tarkowski out and Anderson remains out next week and Gabriel is also out, then I'm in a little bit of bother defensively. Well, quite a lot of bother defensively. So that's the reason that I might roll, but I still think I want Enzo Fernandez long term. Yeah. Arsenal have so many options at the back. He won't be risked. If he is questionable, not playing, you've dumped him. That's fair enough. If you want to sell Gabriel, then that's fine. But I would not be recommending selling Gabriel. He's still the best defender. I expect Gabriel to be the highest scoring defender between now and Christmas, even if he doesn't play this game. So, yeah, I wouldn't do that. Yes, there were a couple of super chats. Would I start Gvardiol, Reinders, or Diouf? There is a benching ranking. Not all of those players are included in that. If I could only start one of Gvardiol, Reinders, and Diouf, I'd probably start Reinders. Tarkowski out for James, toss in Chalobah or Stick. I'd probably just Stick. If I went for a Chelsea defender, it would be Chalobah. Tino, Livramento to Burn this week, or Gyökeres to Mateta and Timber next week. If you've got a decent enough first cover on your bench, then I would just roll the transfer and look next week probably. 4 free transfers planned. Enzo and Saka for Reinders and Stack. You need the funds. Gyökeres to Krupi Jr. and Tarkowski to a 4.1 million for João Pedro to Mateta next game week. Yes, I think that's fine. It means you're going to 4 million defenders, which I like the 4 million defenders, but I'm not sure how I feel about having 2 of them. If you go Mukiele and Rodon, they don't rotate too badly, so you can do that. Play Mukiele next week. Rodon can play this week. It's not the end of the world. I also am very aware that I've mentioned the fact that I might not want to make a defensive transfer, and here I am probably planning on selling one this week. It is quite a short-term thing. I think in the next few weeks, one of Gyökeres and Bruno is likely to go to someone cheaper than them. It could be João Pedro to someone cheaper, but I think João Pedro to Mateta is the most likely. Gyökeres or Bruno will leave my team probably in the next 3 or 4 weeks to someone cheaper, which will free up money to go back into my defense. It's only a short-term thing in order to buy Enzo now, basically. And then I will go back to a slightly more premium defense. It feels like a short-term thing, and I want to put that money back into the defense. I'm just not sure where the best place to take that money out of, whilst also keeping the route to Saka potentially open if I need it. João Pedro is going out next week. I agree. I think that's the most likely thing for my team is João Pedro to Mateta next week. But if suddenly João Pedro playing in the number 10 behind Mark Guiu, also with Delap coming back, suddenly looks really good, then I might end up not selling João Pedro and not buying Mateta and waiting for Mateta until I sell Gyökeres in either game weeks 11 or 12. So it's not guaranteed that I sell João Pedro to Mateta next week, but if João Pedro blanks, it may well be the transfer that I do. Would I not bench boost because of the Gabriel flag? So I posted about this earlier, and it feels similar to the Enzo Fernandez one last week, that if you look at your team and you basically take Gabriel as a 0-pointer, let's say Gabriel plays 0 minutes, do you think your bench can comfortably, an emphasis on the word comfortably, score 10 points? Because 10 points is the minimum I'd want for a single game week bench boost. So if you think your bench can score 10 points without Gabriel playing, then I would play it. But if you think that the player that's subbing in for Gabriel is one of the strongest parts of your bench boost, and even without Gabriel, you don't think you'd get that 10 points, then I probably would hold off and not use the bench boost. Cool. Do I think Saka is worth the money? I don't know the answer to that right now, if I'm honest. I'm wondering about going without Gyökeres and Saka. I think Gyökeres will almost certainly go for me by game week 12, maybe game week 13. It's possible that he goes before that, and I'm not guaranteeing that it's to fund a Bukayo Saka move. My hope is that I can get through these 3 Arsenal games of Palace, Burnley, Sunderland with Gyökeres instead of Saka, and then not have to go there. But I am leaving the transfer open to go to Saka next week if I want to. So when we look at the potential transfers, so whether I roll or whether I do make transfers this week, both of them have an eye on leaving money in the bank and leaving enough transfers and leaving enough flexibility to do Gyökeres out and a midfielder that I'm happy to sell to Bukayo Saka next week if I want to. Yeah, defenders that I'm looking at in a few weeks are Munoz and Virgil van Dijk. Those are the two premium defenders that I'd like to have in that Tarkowski spot. I won't be going to them until I'm happy to sell either Gyökeres or Bruno Fernandes, though. Does it make sense to buy Gabriel with the yellow flag? If you're on wildcard, yes. If you're not on wildcard, no. Bruno and Reinders to Enzo and an 8 million mid or less. I'd probably go with Gakpo. If you're looking for an 8 or sub million, it's either Gakpo or Brian Mbeumo that you're looking at in that price bracket. The other thing you could also do is come down to someone much cheaper, right? Come down to if you're going Enzo, come down to a Sarr, go down to a Kudus, come down to a Iliman and a Jack Grealish, go for something cheaper and just keep the money. Like, you don't have to spend it, but I do. A lot of people have asked me about what's his name, Gakpo this week, and I do quite like the idea of going to him. Raya to Timber for Gabriel and Timber double. So actually, my head has been all over the place with David Raya, and I actually wonder if having David Raya is actually the best second Arsenal defender to have again. Now, as soon as Timber gets an attack in return or Calafiori scores, I will regret it once again, and I will continue to go through this cycle where I don't particularly love to have a premium goalkeeper. But the reason that I wonder about it is because of those other defenders, that if I want a Munoz or if I want a Virgil van Dijk, then if I'm going Gabriel, Timber, and then I'm adding a Munoz or I'm adding a Van Dijk, that's 3 premium defenders that I'm going to own. So if I'm also looking at someone like a Anderson, a Senesi, a Richards in my team, I'm either playing a back 4 or I'm not getting the value out of all of those defenders as much as I should be. So part of me actually wonders if Raya and Gabriel, a cheap option in defence like a Senesi, and Anderson, or Richards, plus a Munoz or a Van Dijk, is actually the best way in terms of squad structure going forward. So I don't think I'd make the double swap of Raya to Timber now. And I'm quite glad I didn't. I almost did it last week. Well, almost. I considered it last week. Still on bench boost. Can always be an issue. Get it done. It's true. Like the 2 things that I said, if you're considering the bench boost, is does it look good in 10 or 11? And okay, if you played your wildcard, if you haven't played your wildcard, then you can save it. If your bench boost also looks good in game week 10 or 11, then you could save it for one of those 2 weeks. And if it doesn't look good in 10 and 11 and you've already wildcarded, I'd probably take the chance on Gabriel as long as the other 3 players on your bench boost look good enough. Would I sell Kudus? Sorry. That has been the big pronunciation recently that I think I've been getting wrong. Kudus. Would I sell him to Enzo Fernandez this week? If you've got 3+ transfers, probably. If you've got 1 or 2, it feels like quite a luxury thing to do, so probably not. The other thing to mention is there are cup games midweek, which there is a very, very small chance of a double game week, like less than 5%. But that 5% probably goes from 5% to 10% if Palace beat Liverpool in the cup next midweek. So there is a small chance of it. And after that Palace-Liverpool game in the cup next midweek, we'll know whether it's 0% or 10%. Because at the moment, it's 5%. And if Palace lose away at Liverpool, then it goes to 0. But if Palace win away at Liverpool, it goes to 10%. It's still not very likely, but that is a little bit of an implication of why I could roll my transfer this week. Would I sell Reinders? I think Reinders is like, if Reinders is your out to get someone like an Ismail Assar, a Kudus, a Iliman and or an Enzo Fernandez, then yes, I would sell him. The others are better. Is Guardiola playing? He's expected to start, yeah. Yeah. Enzo, would I wildcard this week, or is there a better time to use it? I actually don't think this is a particularly... If you haven't wildcarded yet, I wouldn't wildcard now. You've missed the price changes this week. It obviously didn't feel like, if you're considering it now, it doesn't feel like it was that obvious a thing that you needed to do. And I actually think that next week is better because there's quite a lot of things that I would look to swap next week. Like making sure you've got the triple Arsenal isn't as important this week. Knowing what you want to do with like a Gakpo next week, not needing João Pedro next week, I think game week 10 looks better than it does this week. Yeah, Enzo in for Kudus is a fine transfer. Like, if you look at the fixtures coming up, I don't think it's essential this week, but I would rather Enzo long term. Like the Chelsea fixtures, right? Sunderland, Spurs, Wolves, Burnley, and Leeds all in the next 6 games, whereas Spurs have Everton, Chelsea, United, Arsenal, Fulham, and Newcastle. Plus, if you look at some of the underlying data, Spurs are 19th in the last 6 for XG. They're 14th over the season, whereas Chelsea are 6th in the last 6 and 6th over the course of the season. Plus, they've got better fixtures. So you probably do expect Enzo to outscore Kudus over the next 6. It's just which week is it needed to do. Like, I probably would do it this week. But I wouldn't be surprised if Kudus gets quite close to Enzo. Is Burn needed over Botman? So the Newcastle defence is quite interesting. And apologies, I called their new centre-back. If someone in the chat wants to tell me how to pronounce their new left-sided centre-back before I butcher it, that would be great. So there is him, there is Botman, and there is Burn. The issue with them is you've got Lewis Hall and you've got Livramento. Chaël. Okay, because I called him Theo, which or Chaël. Okay, right. Cool. He's been amazing. Like, people are very, very impressed with him. But once you get a return for someone like Lewis Hall and Livramento, they're not going to be playing Dan Burn at left back, which means there's only space for 2 centre backs unless he plays a back 5. And I don't think Italian. Sorry. He's been great. Anyway, they're not going to play a back 5 every week. I don't think. So I would just be a little bit cautious of buying them at the moment. Now, if I had to buy one, I'd still go Burn. If I had to pick a second, I'd probably go Botman. I think. Burns playing Burns playing left back at the moment. Right, well, it doesn't sound like anyone in the chat knows that much about him either. But anyway. I'm going to keep Gabriel, yeah. Cool. Right, let's just talk briefly about my transfers. And I'd be interested to hear what you all think on it. So please let me know in the chat. So this is with it loaded in. The planned transfers, are as follows. Reinders to Enzo and Tarkowski to Rodon. It gives me Rodon at home to West Ham this week. And it gives me Enzo... it won't actually be this. It will probably be stack out. So let me put Reinders back in. Where is he? The reason I would prefer to keep Reinders is because I still think we're like... I think he's probably finished. And I think I'll probably sell him in the future anyway. But all it takes is one return. And suddenly he's back being a good pick again. So I do wonder about keeping him. On the Newcastle defenders, on a technical basis... the new centre-back has been great, but we know Eddie Howe has his favourites. We know it. And they have Champions League and they have Premier League. So I'm just not certain that a new centre-back, despite how good he's been, is going to come in and take the place straight away. I would be reluctant to buy him right now, if I'm honest. But maybe he'll prove me wrong. Go Gakpo. Reinders is rubbish. I mean, he's been pretty good for them as a team. But yeah, I don't ever have to play him, right? He's my 8th attacker pretty much every week. And he may well be sold in the near future anyway. But I just think there's more of a chance of Reinders being a good pick in the future than there is of Stack. And if I can afford it for either of them, I'd rather keep Reinders. The only actual caveat to that is I think I'm more likely to lose value on Reinders than I am on Stack. Because Reinders is 5'7" and he's going to drop at least once more. So that's the only caveat to Reinders, is I'll probably lose value if I keep him. But like, there is a world where he doesn't leave and then I get to these City fixtures and he's still in the team and suddenly like Leeds at home or Sunderland at home, I decide to play him. I don't think he ends up being played for me, and I could just sell him instead and just keep the money in the bank in case I was to need the money for something else. Because I don't love the fixtures for him very much, apart from next week where I'm probably not going to play him. So maybe I just sell Reinders instead. Oh, sorry, no, that's not. Haaland is my captain. Sorry, that's just on this website. Haaland is captain. And it was Bruno Weiss though. I was fiddling around with something for a screenshot, so I had to take Bruno out. Cool, right. So those are the two transfers. Gives me Rodon this week and Enzo next week. And if I sell Stack, it gives me 0.3 in the bank, which is enough for me to do João Pedro to Mateta next week if I want to, but also gives me a bit of a buffer. If Mateta is going to rise soon and I don't want to make the transfer early, it gives me a bit of a buffer that I quite like the idea of having. But it also, so let's say I do that transfer. Mateta. But it also leaves me the money that I need to do Gyökeres and Reinders to Saka and a cheap forward if I wanted to. So let's say I decide to go, I mean, it would probably be Krupi, but it could be Mark Guiu. It does give me the money to do that if I'd want to. So it keeps the money and the flexibility to go to Saka next week if I want to. So those are the transfers. That would be if I used all my transfers next week, bought Mateta, I bought Saka. That would be what my team would look like for next week, which I'm pretty happy with. It's maybe slightly short defensively, but it does allow me quite a lot of flexibility next week. So that's where I'm at. Adam, I apologize. Let me take a look. Would I bench boost with Munoz and Sarr on the bench? If the other two are great, then yes. If the other two aren't, then no. So yeah, that's the plan. And that's why it doesn't really matter who I sell out of Reinders and Stack, because if I decide to get Saka next week, they'll both go. If I don't think I need Saka, then it just stays as it is. And I just keep Gyökeres. And I bench Reinders next week, and I probably still buy Mateta. Or if João Pedro looks good, I don't buy him. I wait 1 week for Mateta, probably, and I sell Gyökeres to Mateta. Gyökeres to Mateta. And then I can't quite afford Reinders to Gakpo, which I have looked at. I'm slightly short of it. I don't think I'm going to buy Waltemada. I think there's two forwards I'd rather buy over him in the short term. I think. Don't sell Gabriel. No, not for a hit. Definitely not. The other one is Thiago. Because Brentford's next couple of fixtures are tough, right? Liverpool at home, Palace away. But from game week 11 onwards, let me get a Brentford players' fixtures up, right? From that week, their fixtures actually look quite nice. And I wonder if he'll be quite a good third forward. Ooh. Like, from game week 11 onwards, I don't mind him as a third forward. Newcastle, Brighton, Burnley. There's Leeds in there, Wolves, Bournemouth. Like, it's an okay run. And it would give me money to do Reinders up to Gakpo. So there's lots of things I'm thinking about for this week. I don't think I'm going to roll, but I'm not ruling it out. And I know that people will say, why am I waiting to late to decide on what I'm going to do my transfers? Unfortunately, my transfers involve buying a Leeds player, and Leeds are the game tonight. I don't think we're going to get Leeds team news. I don't know if we've ever had it, but there's literally no reason for me to do it early when Leeds are playing tonight. It will be Stack probably over Reinders, and Stack will be Enzo. Should I sell Tosin for Senesi? I think Tosin might start, but if you've got a transfer and the money, then yes. How crazy is Foden as a captain? 10 being crazy, 1 being absolutely fine. I'd say you're probably at a 7, given what he's done recently. JP, Rodon or Mukiele? You have Anderson and Alderete injured. Need the first sub in case Gabriel is out. Was going to bench boost 10 or 11, so have to consider this week and next. I mean, if you've got Gabriel and you've got Anderson and Alderete, if I'm honest, I wouldn't use a transfer to have a first sub. I just take the chance that Gabriel plays. And if he doesn't, then you play with 10 players. Like, I wouldn't sell Anderson or Alderete this week to buy Rodon to have him first sub. Like, I just don't think I'd do that. I just keep the transfer. I'm not sure the likelihood of Rodon getting... So, like, what has to happen for that transfer to be worthwhile for you? Rodon or Mukiele? If you're doing it this week, it has to be Rodon, because Mukiele goes away to Chelsea, right? So Rodon has to get a return of at least 4 points, probably. And then you need Gabriel to also miss out. I just don't think that's worth a transfer for those two things to happen. Will Anderson be back in 10? So he should be back. I tweeted about this. He should be back apparently before the international break. It's not guaranteed to be 10, which is a slight issue with my transfers. It is a slight issue with my transfers, yeah. Because if he's not back next week, I either have to play Senesi away at City or I play Rodon away at Brighton. That is the downfall with this transfer route. Now, I could go to Michael Keane at Everton, but all the money just gets quite tight and I have to then sell Reinders. So, I don't know. That is the thing. It is quite tight if I go to Keane, but he does give me a better fixture next week. So, would I do just Reinders to Enzo if I had the money and save the other transfer? Yeah, I'm only downgrading Tarkowski as the plan because I need the money. If I had money in the bank, I would just do Reinders to Enzo. I can also do it if I do stack to Lewis Miley. But it then doesn't... It then is really difficult for me to get Saka if I wanted him. Because then I'd have to do Lewis Miley next week all the way up to Saka. And then I'd have to sell Tarkowski and Gyökeres to do that. And then I wouldn't have the transfer for João Pedro. So... what's my 5k run time these days? I haven't been on one in a week or two. I think it was about 25. Haven't been a little bit slower with it recently. Cool. There are 5,000 of you in who haven't liked the stream. If you could drop a like, that would be fantastic. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Welcome. Thank you all very much for joining. Yeah, if you could drop a like, I'm sure we could hit 1,000 likes already on the stream with 5,000 of you having not liked already. What was I going to say? I was going to say something, but I can't remember. Would I start Reinders or Goodmanson? Probably Goodmanson. Probably. Why is there no love for the Chelsea defence? I've been saying for a couple of weeks that I quite like the Chelsea defence, and I was considering doing Raya to Sanchez to free up an Arsenal spot, and people didn't like that very much. But I think the Chelsea defence is fine. I think the data massively underrepresents how good the Chelsea defence can be on their day. That being said, we were very, 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 very lucky to keep a clean sheet last week. We are 18th for XGC over the past 6, I think. If you all want these tables earlier on in the week, they're all in my transfer targets video, by the way, and I do post them on socials as well. Yeah, 18th for Chelsea over the last 6 and 16th over the course of the season for their defensive data. Arsenal Leeds are actually 2nd, and they're 4th over the course of the season. So there is a reason to buy a Leeds defender because they don't stay on the pitch. Yeah, Chelsea getting red cards. Yeah, that is true. Chelsea's new chant of red card again, ole ole, seems to be a regular occurrence at the moment. And then when we had one against us in the Champions League, every Chelsea game just seems to have a red card in. Reinders and Bowen to Enzo and Mateta for free. I probably would. Like, I don't know if it's definitely better this week. Like, are Enzo and Mateta away at Arsenal better than Reinders and Bowen this week? Maybe not, but I probably would want it long term. Yeah, I wouldn't buy Rodon this week with your set of transfers, I think, if I'm remembering the right question. What's my favorite biscuit? Right. I've got a couple of answers to that question, which I don't know if you will count. First of all is a penguin biscuit, the chocolate covered ones. Don't know if I'm allowed that. Next up, big fan of a Jaffa cake. Don't know if you'll allow that. And the final one, if I'm not allowed them, is a custard cream. Yeah, stay for more useful FPL content. Krupi or Thiago? It depends what you plan with your squad structure. I quite like Thiago. Burrows, let me take a look. Let's do a few of these. So, Raya, Gavardio, Kudos, Reinders to Pope, Timber, Enzo, Sarr. I don't know if the Raya transfer is necessarily worth it, but as a combination, I like those 4 moves, yeah. How crazy we did. Should I sell Tosin? We did. Would you start Reinders or a Stev? I'd start Reinders. Would I do Raya, Stack, Reinders, Gyökeres to Sanchez, Saka, Enzo, and Obi? I'm guessing the Raya to Sanchez move is to free up the money. That's the one I don't like. If it's for free, I don't think that's worth it. You're doing 4 transfers, basically, to buy Saka. So I don't love them, no. Reinders and Bowen to Enzo and Mateta, we did. You have Alderete and Anderson. Given Gabriel doubts, how do I feel about Gyökeres and Anderson to Voltemada and Timber for free and do João Pedro to Mateta next week? I don't mind that if it gives you a double up on the Arsenal defence. If it gives you a triple up on the Arsenal defence, I don't love the triple up on the Arsenal defence. Because it relies so much on one team and that could easily go wrong. But the other thing is, what happens if another Arsenal player looks really good all of a sudden and you've got triple defence? Do you think there's enough other good picks? I might sell Tarkowski this week. I don't feel great about it. I think he's a pretty nice pick for the next 3 weeks. But do I think that the other players that I'm buying might be able to get close enough to him? Yeah. Like, I think the money is better spent on starting Enzo Fernandez over Reinders than Tarkowski over Rodon this week. Like, Rodon Enzo feels like a better combination this week than Tarkowski Reinders. Thoughts on Chalobah? He's my favourite of the Chelsea defenders if I had to buy one. Yeah. So listen, if you've got Gabriel, Anderson, and Alderete, I would probably... just chance it and hope he plays. Right, hang on. Right, hang on. Give me a minute. I don't... Right, let me get it up. A little bit apprehensive of this because I don't want to cause chaos, but the Chelsea training photo, the Arsenal training photos don't have Gabriel, but apparently they don't also have Saka. I wouldn't worry if you own Saka, but it's probably enough to say, like, don't make the switch. Like, don't do those Gyökeres to Saka transfers, probably. It's probably enough just to be like, let's just not take the risk. I'm sure Saka will be fine. I'm sure they both start, but it's probably just enough for me to say, don't move sideways from Gyökeres to Saka. If you've got Saka, I'm sure he's absolutely fine. Arteta didn't even mention it in the press conference, so I imagine it's absolutely nothing and it's just coincidence, but I just thought I would show it, as a few people in the chat have mentioned it. We also went through it with him every week last year at about this same... someone said check the first comment on the post. I don't know what it was. Yeah, cool. I don't want to create anything out of that. I would just... If you've got Gyökeres and you were considering the Gyökeres out for Saka move, it's probably enough for me to say don't do it. But I wouldn't worry about it. I still think Saka's a good pick. Rodon and Enzo get them in. It's my most possible thing. I am also wondering about Goodmanson, but I think I'll go Rodon. Raya or Dubravka. So I do have a benching dilemma thing in the top right-hand corner, and there's a separate one for goalkeepers, which will include that. If you own David Raya, you play him every week. Yeah. Tracer, Sarr to Enzo. I need to do Van de Ven to Tossen to make it work. No, Sarr's a great pick from next week. I actually wonder if Sarr is better next week. That's the only reason that puts me off buying Enzo this week, is that I wonder if Sarr is better than him from next week. That's the only thing putting me off buying Enzo, is I wonder if Sarr is actually a better pick next week than him. Thoughts on Chalobah? We did. Enzo in for Doku for a hit this week or wait. To be honest, I just want Doku out of my team, if I'm honest. So I probably would do that. It's probably statistically not a good hit, right? Doku will probably start, so it's probably not worth it. But you might want to do something else with your team next week, so I would just do it. That will always be a transfer you wish you made further down the line. Like next week, you'll go, oh, do I do it? Oh, no, but I'm doing something else, so it's still a hit. Oh, the week after, oh, I've got another transfer to make, so it's still a hit. So I just think you just do that. Thank you for the streams. No worries at all. Would I start Mateta, Goodmanson, or Porro? Feels weird to say the Leeds defender out of that lot, but probably him. Advise with someone with Anderson, Romero, Gabriel, and Gavardiol. So I think Gavardiol will start. Then you've got the other three. You were going to do Romero to Rodon for funds for Sarr next week. Then I would just do it. Yeah, Romero out to Rodon is fine, and then at least you've got cover as well in case something was to happen. Sean Dyche's effect on Nottingham Forest as a Nottingham Forest. I'm going to say a Nottingham Forest household. We're not a Nottingham Forest household, but my wife is a Forest fan. We were pleased. She was pleased to see a Nottingham Forest win. A Nottingham Forest win the other night. They looked better defensively. They didn't create that much. They got a couple of penalties, but I think that's what we expect, right? I think it feels a bit predictable that they went horribly wrong with Ange. Now they're going to get Dyche, and they're going to play similar to how Dyche has played. Why Reinders to Stack? Because I'm planning on selling Stack to buy Enzo. Are you thinking of replacing Gabriel? No. Please don't sell Gabriel. Like, he's the best Arsenal defender. If you are convinced that Gabriel's not going to play this week, you should sell another defender. Like, if I knew Gabriel was out this week, I would sell Anderson to 4 million. Or I'd sell Anderson to someone else. Like, I wouldn't sell Gabriel. Anderson is expected back in either 10 or 11. He may well be back next week, so I'm not going to sell him. I'm not going to sell him. Calvert-Lewin to Mark Gee to swap Reinders to Enzo for free. Probably if you've used your bench boost already, yeah. Tiger, bench Doku, Goodmanson or Munoz. Goodmanson versus Munoz is really close. I'd be tempted to bench the Palace people just because they played on Thursday and played a full-strength lineup. Probably enough to just knock them down. I think they're great long-term picks, but probably not this week. If you are on wildcard or free, if you're on wildcard or free hit, I would urge you to go and watch this morning's video. It has a wildcard and a free hit draft in it. So I would say that I'm not going to go through them on stream, basically. If you want wildcard and free hit chat, there's not many people on it, so we're going to leave it out of the stream. But yeah, I'd go and watch that video if you need either of those. Bench Diouf or Estev? Ooh, Estev's an interesting one. I think I'd probably play Estev. That's quite close. Do I have Estev in my benching ranking? I don't. I'd probably play Estev. Where does Xhaka rank? Probably, I mean, the thing is, he'll get DEFCON. I'd probably play Xhaka over Mateta. Is that crazy? I just think Palace have a good chance of not scoring that game. You did Tarkowski and Reinders to Burn and Enzo. Nice. If I could afford Burn, I would probably be looking at that, but I can't. FPL challenge we will do at the end of the stream. It is players from the club who have played 5+ years get double points. And there are a couple of positions where there aren't many of them. Basically, everyone's playing 3 midfielders, it feels like. Alf, have a good Game Week 9. For anyone who didn't watch, I played an EAFC charity match against Alf, best of 3. Unfortunately for Alf, I showed quite how many hours of my life I've spent playing that game since I was probably about 14 years old. And I've played an awful lot of it. But it was good, and we raised some money for charity, so it was fun. Speak on captaincy. If you're brave enough to go against Erling Haaland in his form, the others are Semenyo, Bruno, Salah, Saka, Enzo. I just don't feel conviction in any of them to go against Haaland. I really don't. People are like, this is a good week to go against Haaland. He's away at Villa. Away to the Villa team who just lost to 12th in the Dutch league against the team ranked 380th in UEFA's rankings, and Haaland is just scoring goals everywhere he goes. I don't like this as a week to go against him, if I'm honest. That's basically where I'm at. Gyökeres to Watermed and Van de Ven to Timber. The thing with Watermada is he is scoring from very few chances. Now, you can say that... someone, if you want to watch that, it's on Alf FPL, his channel, Alf FPL. You can go and check it out on his. Watermada's been scoring from quite few chances. Now, you can take that two ways, that with some of the fixtures coming up, he might get more chances. And then if he's already scoring with limited chances, what can he do with lots of chances? Or it's unsustainable for him to score with the few chances that they've got. I don't mind him as a pick. I just prefer Mateta. He just gets so many chances. And he got them again on Thursday and he missed them again. But when is the best to bench boost? Have you messed it when I did it? 9, 10 and 11. If you've already wildcarded, I would use it in the next 3 weeks. Unless you want to save it till 17. The reason 17 is that's when you get your 6 free transfers in game week 16, and then game week 17 is the only fixtures around Christmas where the spacing is quite good between midweek weekend games for lots of the team. So 9, 10 and 11 if you've already wildcarded, if not 17. If you haven't wildcarded, you can just save the bench boost if you want. What's the plan for the sale of the African Cup of Nations players in Ndai, Semenyo, Sarr? So Semenyo is not going to the African Cup of Nations. They didn't qualify, I don't believe. Ghana failed to qualify. Ndai is going. And... yeah, Sarr as well. So that's the thing. Maybe, Ndai and Sarr, you can sell them. It's fine. There are so many mids at that price. But Semenyo is not going to... he's not going. So you don't need to sell Semenyo. They didn't qualify. Bench 2 of Sarr, Gabriel, Reinders, Goodmanson. I'd bench... I think all of them are in my benching ranking. Probably bench Sarr and Reinders. I'd probably play the back 4. Probably. I prefer the defenders in that. Would I rather sell Sarr or Ndai long term? Sarr or Ndai? If I had to pick one long term, I'd probably go Sarr. But it depends if you're going Mateta. How do I spell that channel if you want to? ALF, ALF. Like elf, but with an A, and then FPL. So space FPL. Why not Enzo yet? I am planning on doing it. I'm just waiting until we get closer to the lineups because I'm buying a Leeds player. And for example, let's say we got to the deadline and... let's say we got to the deadline and Rodon wasn't pictured arriving at the stadium or something. It just wouldn't be worth... There's no point in me doing it now. And I did tweet about this earlier on today. Sorry, right. I was reading the Saka tweets again. What was I talking about? Something earlier on today, but I can't remember. Oh, I did tweet about it. Yeah. I only make transfers, and I completely get that people live much busier lives than I do, and they don't have time to spend so long thinking about FPL as I do, and they're not always planning on making transfers at specific times like I do. And I completely get that. That is absolutely fair. I spent all my time thinking about this game, so it's slightly different for me. But I don't make transfers outside of after 10:30 at night. Because at 10:30, is when you get embargoed quotes from any of the press conferences that might have been or any manager things. Embargoed quotes come out 10:30 UK time. And that's when you have the most information for the day and you have the best understanding of the potential price changes for that day, right? Or on a day where there's a deadline, I'd put half an hour before the deadline, but normally I'd leave it 15 minutes because I just like to make transfers when I have the most amount of information. And it 99 or not 99, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't make any difference. But that one time where you might hear something or you might get news going into the deadline or something else, it's just worth waiting if you have the ability to. We are going to put it in subscriber only mode with an hour to go until the deadline. You literally have to subscribe for 1 second to start using the chat again. But if you haven't subscribed, please do so now. And while you're there, please drop a like on the stream. Why don't I switch Anderson and Richards on the bench? Yeah, I technically can. It doesn't make any difference though. Because if Anderson miraculously out of nowhere played, I'd rather Anderson away at Newcastle than Richards away at Arsenal. Anderson's not going to play, right? But he's technically my 4th best defender. I don't think it'll be as easy for Chelsea as people think. Like, Sunderland are pretty good defensively. Do I play Champions League fancy? I do not. No, I like to, particularly with Chelsea back in the competition this year, but also I like to have some football that I can watch purely for the enjoyment of it and not think who scored or who got the assist or what minute did they get subbed off or who passed it to him or has he been booked or what's his ownership. Like, I do like to have some football that I can just, purely watch and not even have anything in the back of my mind. And I've just never played it. I spent so long thinking about FPL that I don't think I'd be able to I wouldn't be able to play another fancy game with the spare time that I've got. And I wouldn't want to play it unless I can put everything I've got into it. Is probably where I'm at. And I'm quite happy just playing one game, if I'm honest. It allows me to focus on it. Like, it doesn't take my thought away from this game. Play Pedro Porro or Esteve. It's so close that. I probably would go Porro because of the attacking threat. And Burnley are, if we look at our Lysol XG table, Burnley are 20th and 20th. People saying Gabriel is out in the chat. We don't know that. He hasn't trained today or yesterday. But we don't know if he's going to be available or not. I would keep him and I would start him if you've got him. Just because he's got a yellow flag and Arteta said he hasn't trained. How many times have we sat here last year? I actually found a tweet, funnily enough, the other day, which was about when we were looking at David Raya walking down the steps and wondered if he was okay. And someone's beard, I think. And it was about that. And it just reminded me, it happened to be today that I saw the tweet. And then we also got the news about Gabriel. And I just think we're here all the time with Arsenal. And I wouldn't worry about it. If you want anything on Anderson, I put a post on Twitter and on Instagram about him. He's down as an unknown return date here. They said the injury is not serious, but didn't mention it. But I did post on Instagram and Twitter. I can get that up. Let me find the tweet. Let me get it up. Here. So I posted this yesterday. Most people said that it was basically the same as in the press conference, but I wanted to share the news. Basically, someone messaged me yesterday that said apparently it's minor and is expected back before the international break. Game week 10 is possible. It's not guaranteed. Could be game week 11. It's a muscle injury, so he could tweak it and it get pushed back. So this is no guarantee, but it was enough for me to think he'll probably be back before the international break. So I should probably just hold on to him. The plan for me is Tarkowski to Rodon and probably stack or Reinders up to Enzo Fernandez. What do we think about Eze? I'm not the biggest fan of him as a pick. I think he's all right short term, but I don't think you'll hold him for that long, if I'm honest. I probably wouldn't buy a new now. Zuni, you have Gabriel, Anderson, Alderete. Do I do Anderson to Rodon, which allows me Reinders to Enzo? Don't want to sell Anderson, but we'll cover Enzo. Then yes, yeah. If you can do that and it covers, then yes, I probably would. Calafiori and Munoz or Gabriel and Senesi on wildcard. Gabriel. I'd still Gabriel. Gabriel's just the most important. So Gabriel. You have transferred in Reece James for Romero. I don't mind him as a pick. Like, he's not a definite avoid. But, yeah. I prefer others. And I just, as a Chelsea fan, have too much of a risk of his injury. Cool. Why stack over Reinders? Because I plan on selling him. Is the only reason he's in there at the moment. Is I plan on selling stack. Garnacho or Stev to start. Probably. Oh, Estev. Sorry, Esteval. I'm sure it'll be Esteval. He said the quotes that he played him up front at the end of the game against Ajax because he didn't have any more subs, but he wanted to reduce the amount he had to run, is what he said. So I can't see it being Garnacho. What's my worst ever finish in FPL? 750k. About 7 in my second year of playing. It was the year Salah joined the Premier League. I wasn't particularly engaged with the game. I went Mane for the whole season and Salah absolutely punished me. Basically, there was 1 week where I finally was like, this is going to be the turning point. Salah got benched and Mane started and Salah still outscored him. And I think it was at that point I gave up. So yeah, 750k is my worst finish. Not a good one. Outside of that, it's 125k. And then nothing else outside the top 15k. Two bad seasons, unfortunately. Blemishing the record. The Saka thing where I tried to see if he was walking down the steps. I think that is probably my favourite stream error. Outside of like the 100k subscribers or 200k subscriber moments, I think the Saka walking down the steps, I need to go and watch it back. But they are my my most iconic ones, I think. In my most memorable ones. 2 million on your first season. My first season, I finished 10.5k. And if only I knew what would lead to my life in FPL, because on the last day, I'd won all my mini leagues. And it was John Terry's last game for Chelsea. And as a Chelsea fan, so I'd won all my mini leagues. So I bought John Terry and captained him just as a bit of fun. And he got subbed off after 17 minutes? Or something like that, to a standing ovation. If I'd have done anything else, I'd have another top 10k finish, but I finished 10.8k because I made that transfer. And I only realized it 3 years later when I suddenly worked out that finishing top 10k was a thing and I didn't have one, that I had missed it because of that transfer that I did. So never again will I make sentimental transfers. 26th minute, I do apologize. But yes, that was it. I finished 10.5k that season. Nightmare. Thankfully, I finished in the top 10k since then, so it's all right. Davin, let me take a look. Pick one: Enzo, Calafiori, Voltamada, Enzo, Timber, Krupi Jr., Caicedo, Timber, Walter-Mata, bench boosting this week. Enzo Calafiori, Walter-Mata is so much more expensive than Enzo, Timber, Krupi Jr. So it depends what it does for the rest of your squad structure. What made me become more... What made me become more serious about my finishes? I don't know. I don't think I became more serious about my finishes, but I started joining Twitter and I started making content. You start to swap your mentality away from mini leagues to rank. So now I play for rank, whereas back then I played for mini leagues. So that's probably the main switch when I started caring about my rank rather than where I was in my mini league. I'm planning on 2 transfers this week. Just going to wait until we get closer to the Leeds game in case there was anything potentially that came out of it. Because I plan on buying a Leeds player. Do I think Tossen will start? Probably. It's not guaranteed, though. It might well be Josh Achampong again. You finally made live, Ryan. Welcome. What am I going to do? The plan is to downgrade Tarkowski and upgrade either Stack or Reinders. Rodon alternative, Mukiele, if you can get up to Keane, Goodmanson, Estev, Twanzebe. Yeah. Which 2 to start? Reinders, Porro, Keane, or Sarr? Keane I'd start, and I'd probably play Reinders over Porro. So I'd probably bench Porro and Sarr. Would I bench boost with Gabriel? So, going back to the bench boost questions, if you've got Gabriel, the best way to visualize it, put Gabriel last on your bench and say, Gabriel's going to score me 0 points. If the other 3 players on your bench you think comfortably, and again, emphasis on the word comfortably, score 10 points, then yes, bench boost. Because if Gabriel misses out, but you still get 10 points, that's fine. But if you don't think they'll make 10 points, then no, I wouldn't play the bench boost. By Enzo or Gakpo. I mean, there's a million in it. I think I probably just about prefer Enzo, but I think it's quite close. I do like Gakpo as well. If I could afford Gakpo, would I go there over Enzo? Quite possibly, if the money didn't do anything else for me. Would I do my moves if they were for a hit? No. If I had to take a hit to buy Enzo, I wouldn't do it. Start Van de Ven, Mukiele, or Mark Gay. I think they're all... Oh, no. I'd play Van de Ven. I mean, it might depend. Like, if you've got an Illiman and Die, you might not want to play Van de Ven because you might want to play one against the other. But I'd play... yeah. If I don't make a transfer, I'll play Reinders over Stack. But the plan for me is to sell Stack. That's why he's in. And Stack's replacement in Enzo will start. And Reinders will be benched. Tarkowski or Goodmanson. I'd play Tarkowski. Oh, no, would I? I probably would play Goodmanson this week. How long is Keane a starter for? It's a good question. So Branthwaite has had hamstring surgery. So you'll probably get the rest of the calendar year, which is probably until game... You're probably going to get 10, 15 weeks at him at a minimum if you're buying Keane, I would say. We don't know that. But we've just know that very recently he's had surgery on his hamstring. So I'd be very surprised if we're seeing him until at least January. And even then, he seems to have quite a bad record with his injuries at the moment. So, and Keane's playing really well. Keane and Enzo for Tarkowski and Reinders. Yeah. I can do those transfers. It just doesn't leave me much money going forward in case of price changes and if I wanted to go and buy Saka. Yeah, I really hope Chelsea get a penalty as well, because if João Pedro takes it over Enzo, then I might keep João Pedro and sell Gyökeres instead. I'd start Reinders over Stack. I'm pretty sure Reinders is above Stack in my benching ranking, but I'm going to sell Reinders. Sorry, I'm going to sell Stack is the plan. That's why he's in my starting 11. Not because I think Stack's better, just because Stack's replacement is likely to be better than Reinders. Take a hit for Saka. Definitely not. He wasn't in the Arsenal training photos today. I think Saka will be absolutely fine, but I wouldn't take a hit to buy him. Reinders bench for Stack. No, I'd play Reinders over Stack. I'm just going to swap it round. Just for now, until I make the transfer. Because I'd start Reinders over Stack. Play Mateta. It depends who your other 7 attackers are. Like, I wouldn't feel you have to play Mateta if you've got him, because I think he's such a good pick from next week that if you're buying him now, he's got Arsenal away. Like, it's probably the hardest fixture there is in anywhere. So, the plan is to downgrade Tarkowski in order to afford it. Is West Ham worse than Leeds? On current form, yeah. Like, if you look at the data, in terms of goals scored or XG, Leeds are 10th or 11th over the season, and West Ham are 16th or 17th over the season. Defensively, West Ham are 17th or 18th over the season, and Leeds are 2nd for the last 6 or 4th over the season. So, data-wise, Leeds have played better than West Ham. I'm not saying Leeds have got a better team, but they probably don't. Rodon or Van der Ven, I'd probably go Rodon. To buy Enzo, sell Tarkowski to Anderson or Keane. I wouldn't buy Anderson, I don't think. Just in case he's not back as soon as we think he is. Reinders versus Villa away feels like a 1-goal, 1-assist type game, and you don't know why. Part of me wants to keep him, just because I do feel like we are one return away from being back on the menu. Like, all it takes is him to play 90 against Villa and get a return, and suddenly everyone wants Reinders again. Whereas I don't think people are going to want Stack again. Stack feels like this season's Mavadidi from last year. I always randomly buy an attacker from a newly promoted team. Last year it was Mavadidi instead of Rodgers, and now it's Stack. Reinders to Xhaka, 1 free transfer, no money in the bank or roll. I wouldn't do that transfer unless you need it. Do I think Mark Guy will start? Yes. Yeah. Would I start Minte or Diouf? I'd go Minte. Sarr or Anthony? Probably Anthony. Probably. The fixture for him is better. And he has been good. As much as I don't think he'll keep it up, he has been good. Start Ndiaye or Caicedo? I'd start Ndiaye. White Enzo over Caicedo. I just don't think that Caicedo can keep it up. He scored a big deflected shot again midweek. I don't think the teams in the Prem will let him shoot from distance like this, because he's shown that he can do it, and teams will just close him down now. He's not going to score from 30 yards 10 times a season. So, or 20 yards, 25 yards. I can see him scoring 2 more goals this season, which doesn't make it. Caicedo is not a better buy than Xhaka. Is probably where I'm at. I think Xhaka will get close to the same level of DEFCONs. Like, Caicedo will probably hit 30 plus, 35 plus DEFCON. Okay, 30 plus DEFCON. And I think Xhaka will hit it 25 plus. But Xhaka will get 5 more returns than him. And he's cheaper. I wouldn't buy Caicedo now. It's too expensive as well. Interestingly, though, I did do a video just as the season started of a prediction for the team that would score the most points if you didn't make a single transfer. And I did have Caicedo in it, so I'm quite proud of that. The rest of the team has not done very well. It didn't have Haaland in it. So the rest of the team is quite irrelevant because I went Salah over Haaland in it. But I did go Caicedo. And I did go Munoz. I think there were a couple of good picks in there. I think I also went Palmer. So how's that gone? Anyway. You're looking to replace Romero, Chalobah, or Burn. I probably would go Burn, personally. Reinders to Xhaka, Salah, Reinders to Saka, Bruno this week or next. I'd probably do it this week. Yeah. If you're certain that's where you want to go, then I'd do it this week. Reinders, Gvardiol to Enzo James. Oh, I suppose because of the slight doubt of Saka, I still think I'd do it. I still think I'd take the risk as long as you've got someone on your bench. Reinders, Gvardiol to Enzo James on a free. Reinders, Gvardiol to Enzo James on a free. Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm not a big advocate of the Reece James pick, but I can understand why you'd want to do it. Why not transferring Anderson out and bench boost? I've already played my bench boost. Played my bench boost in game week 5. Do I think there's a chance Salah gets a goal this week? I mean, absolutely. Like, he's still top 5 players in the entire league. Yeah, like, he could score any week. If I had to pick every single week, pick outside of Haaland, pick a player you think will score this week, I'd probably pick Salah still. Like, he hasn't just completely fallen off. So, yes. I think Foden and Reinders will both start, yeah. Ethan. Play one out of Munoz, Goodmanson, or Van der Ven. I wouldn't play Van der Ven. It's either Goodmanson or Munoz. Probably go Goodmanson for 1 week. Ethan, let me take a look. Start Munoz or Elliot Anderson. Probably Elliot Anderson. Gordon Cap. In the politest way possible, absolutely. Like, I know he scored midweek and he's on pens, so data-wise, he's not actually that bad. But it's just form is a little bit concerning in front of goal. I wouldn't go there. I think he's fine. Like, I think he's a decent pick. If you want to have him, that's absolutely fine. But I would really put you off captaining Gordon. And I was going to sit here next week and Gordon's going to score a hat-trick. And you're going to be back in the chat saying, you told me under no uncertain terms not to captain Gordon. And look what he did. But I wouldn't do it. Transfer Caicedo in for Reinders or DC and overall points. I don't understand the question. Apologies. Bowen or Walter-Mada? Walter-Mada long term. I wouldn't sell Bowen this week though. Would I buy a Wolves defender? I would not. No. Rodon over Mukiele just in case Gabriel doesn't play. Brought Mukiele at 4. You could also go Goodmanson, Majed. He's the same price. Not if you're going double cheap options, then no. Just have... I think you've got like Mateta first sub, don't you? I think that's fine. João Pedro to Krupi Jr. or Zubamendi to Saka for true freeze. I don't think I'd do that this week. No. My team... If I had my team and I still had the bench boost, I just wouldn't play it. I wouldn't sell Anderson to play the bench boost. I still think he's the second best 4.5 defender in the game. I wouldn't sell Anderson to bench boost, I don't think. Particularly with Richards away at Arsenal. I'd save it and bench boost in 11, I think. I think I always said 11 was the week that worked. How offensive will Enzo play and both João Pedro and Guy will play? He'll still be far forward. He'll just share the space slightly more with someone like João Pedro, but he'll still be advanced. I've played the wild card and I played the bench boost. Still got triple captain and still got the free hit. Will Enzo start? I don't see any reason why he won't. Sell Gyökeres and Eze to get Saka the next weeks. I wouldn't sell Gyökeres and Eze this week. No, I'd wait till next week. Like Gyökeres to Mateta, Eze to Saka in 10 is fine, but I wouldn't do it this week because I wouldn't buy Gyökeres this week. Sorry, I wouldn't buy Mateta this week. Where does Keane sit in the benching ranking? The same as Tarkowski. They've got equal measures going for them, so same as Tarkowski. Did Guiu drop last night? Did he drop to 4-2? Or he's going to drop tonight. He's predicted to drop. Bruno and Reinders to Enzo and Ndai for a -4. Bruno out for a hit. Probably not. No. There are... let me get the price changes up. Yeah, Mark Guiu is predicted to drop in price. See, if I then need a striker next week, like if I decide to buy Saka next week and Mark Guiu's dropped, I'll probably buy him at 4-2. He'll probably go up to 4-3 because he starts. And let's say he scores. He'll go up to 4-3 and then he'll get benched when Delap comes back and he'll go down to 4.1 probably. Anyway, what I think of Reinders to Minte, I'm not sure I'd go to Minte now. I just stick with Reinders. I don't feel like Reinders to Minte is that useful a transfer at the moment. Would I trade Konza for James? I'd sell Konza for pretty much anyone now. Yes. Yeah, one free transfer, Burn or Chalobah. I'd probably go Burn. How many hours a day do I study FPL? That is a good question. A lot. I'd define study FPL because I spend a lot of time doing graphics and stuff. Like, does that count? Because if you include anything, like including graphics, like watching football, then it's a lot. But if it includes actually like looking at my team and wondering what transfers I'm going to make, it's probably not actually that much. But I spend so long thinking about the game generally that when I come to think about what transfers to make, I've already looked at most of the players for a video or something. So, yeah, I'm planning on doing 2 transfers, I think. One sec. Sorry, 1 second. Cool. When did I start FPL? About 8 years ago, I think. I rode on a Mukiele for budget defender. It depends if you ever need to play them. I'd go Mukiele if you don't ever need to play them. If you need them this week, rode on. If you need them next week, Mukiele. You had Enzo last year and he was a disaster. Remember you sold him quickly to Ahmad. That is true. He was a disaster last year. Enzo or Ndai? Enzo. Enzo over Ndai. Particularly because Ndai will also go to AFCON, so you've just got an extra transfer there. Harry reading the cartel group chat. If you want to know what I was replying to, someone asked a question or said something about my fixture ticker that I posted, and I just replied to them. So if you want to see that I wasn't in any cartel group chat, you can go and see that I have about a minute ago just replied to someone on Twitter asking a question about the fixture ticker that I posted. Wood to Voltemada or Welbeck. I'd go Voltemada over Welbeck. Nick Pope or Pickford. I'd go Pope. Haaland or Semenyo captain. Haaland's top of my ranking. So again, those of you who are looking for any bit of useful information, there is lots going on in the chat. In the top right hand corner, we do have top players to buy across all the positions. In goal, defense, midfielder, forwards. We've also got captaincy ranking, my top 5 captains ranked. I've got benching decisions. If you've got goalkeeper ones or outfield players, the top 17 of both combinations are included in that benching ranking. There's also a list of differentials if you want players slightly different. Cody Gakpo is top of that. Hopefully, a lot of your questions are answered in the top right corner if you want to go and take a look. Owen, 2 free transfers, Gyökeres and Xhaka out for Voltemada and Enzo. Would I do it to bench Sarr away at Arsenal? I quite like that combination of moves. As long as you're happy not having Gyökeres away at Burnley next week is the only thing. I would prefer to go to Mateta over Voltemada. My general opinion is I'd rather buy Mateta over Voltemada even if you're buying this week. So take a look in the top right while you are checking out hopefully all that useful info. If you're liking the stream, you like the info, drop a like on the stream and subscribe if you are new to the channel. If you are watching and can't use the chat, it's probably because you're not subscribed. So you have to subscribe to start using the chat for the second hour. The second hour, we are half an hour away from the deadline. Oh, we're almost at 2,000 likes. You legends. I don't have it. It's weird. They've changed the layout, so I can't see as easily unless I go and check. We're almost at 2,000, so thank you all very much. I appreciate that. Hope you're having a fantastic Friday evening. A Bowen or Voltemada. If I was buying new now, I'd buy Voltemada. I wouldn't buy Bowen now, I don't think, with the way that West Ham are playing. Kieran, thank you. Rodon, yeah, he's probably my favourite of the cheaper ones. His DEFCON is better than the others from Leeds. His goal threat is all right, and them defensively have been pretty good. So, thank you both, Bob, and thank you for Study Hack for joining as a base tier member to get the stream perks and the priority replies on videos as well. Thank you all very much for joining. I hope you are having a good Friday. Is Foden worth selling to get Gakpo? Yeah, if you've got Foden, I'd sell him this week. We've all hit 2k likes, legends. Yeah, I'd sell Foden. Start Gvardiol or Rodon? I'd play Rodon over Gvardiol, I think. It's quite close, though. If I have 6 million to spend on a defender, who are you buying? Munoz or... I mean, if you've got Arsenal, right? Arsenal are top. If you've got Arsenal, then Munoz or Van Dijk. And I know people won't like the Liverpool defence, but from game week 12, they have such a good run of fixtures. People will be looking at Liverpool from 12. £4.5 million defender long term. Richards and Anderson are the best. Of course, Anderson is out this week though, and probably Keane, if not one of the 4.1 defenders. Would I buy a Wolves defender? I would not. Richards or Rodon? This week, Rodon. Long term, Richards is better. Yeah. Cool. 4.8 defender. There's nothing really. You just buy a 4.5 million one. We've just spoken about. Sorry, Munoz or Dorgu. So I was just staring at the camera, and then I realised that I was staring at the camera. People always tell me that I freeze. It's 5-3-2 formation selling. I probably wouldn't play back five because a lot of the good depth in your team comes from having defenders on your bench. So although it might be good for your starting 11, it doesn't do much for your bench. Do I like Dallo? I don't love the Man United defence at the moment, no. You accidentally confirmed 5 free transfers. I like the moves, though. I don't mind the moves. Dubravka or Sanchez, I'd play Sanchez. Dubravka or Donnarumma, I'd play Donnarumma. Cucurella, yeah. So I spoke about Cucurella in my video the other day. I just don't think he's worth the money. I don't think he's worth the money over some of the other options that you've got. I just don't think he's worth 6 million. Like, he's not better than the Arsenal defenders. I don't think he's better long-term than Van Dijk. I don't think he's better than Munoz. So I'd just go Chalobah. How long have we got? We've got 25 minutes to go to the deadline. If anyone sees anything of interest, of course, with the with the game tonight, then always feel free to tag me in it on Twitter, and I will take a look. Let me start getting that up for anyone who wants to tag me in anything. Am I benching Gabriel? No, I would definitely start him. To go back to Gabriel, we spoke about him quite a lot at the beginning, but anyone who's joined recently, if you've got Gabriel, if you're just using transfers, I wouldn't buy him, but on wildcard, I would still own Gabriel, and if you've got him, I'd start him, because I don't think he's either going to start or not play any minutes, and you'll just get the sub off the bench if he doesn't play. I just have to deal with it if he doesn't play. And if you're on bench boost with Gabriel, what I would do is I'd put Gabriel last on your bench just as a visual. Look at the other 3 players as part of your bench boost and say, do those 3 players comfortably get me to do those other 3 players comfortably get 10 points? If they do, then you can bench boost. If they don't, because you want to get 10 points without Gabriel, and then if he plays. If you don't have any, like, let's say Richards was also out, I still don't think I'd make a transfer. Alderete and Anderson on bench, who are both out this week, and you have Gabriel in your team. Do I transfer one of those out? I think I'd just take the chance that Gabriel plays. And if he doesn't, you have one defender short this week. I just don't think it's worth a transfer. Because what you're effectively saying is you're using a transfer, so that player you're buying has to get 4 points? Because if they got 3 or less, it's probably not worth it for a transfer. And Gabriel has to miss out. So you have to buy a defender that gets at least 4 points this week, which is not that easy to do at a cheap price. But also you then need Gabriel to miss out for that transfer to be worthwhile. So I don't think I would do it. Tarkowski or Munoz to start. I'd play Tarkowski. The Palace players are great long-term picks, but I just don't think they're particularly needed this week, and I think they're absolutely fine to bench this week, particularly because they played on Thursday evening a pretty full strength lineup, apart from Richards. Yeah. Apparently, in those training photos, Declan Rice is also not there, so I wouldn't worry about Saka. I wouldn't worry about Saka. What to do with Isak? I'd sell him. It's just not worth the money, especially when he's got a bit of an injury doubt. I'd sell him, definitely. Alarud, you got 5 free transfers. What would I do with your team? Is that Anderson or Andersen, I imagine? 4 free transfers. Bench boost not used. Roll to 5. Yes, I'd roll to 5, yeah. Yes. Start Reinders or Caicedo? I'd play Caicedo over Reinders. Caicedo over Reinders. Buy Timber or keep Van Dijk? Probably not this week. I'd keep Van Dijk this week, but I probably would keep Van Dijk. Gibbs White as a punt? No. I need to see something from that Forest team that isn't just penalties. And they have a tough fixture this week. Thanks for telling me last week that you wouldn't bench Munoz. It made a difference. Glad I could be of some use. Never bench Munoz apart from away at Arsenal. I was going to say never bench Munoz, and then I realised I'd said I'd bench Munoz in quite a lot of situations this week. I think he's a fine play, but this is a week where you can bench players if you've got them for Palace. Which Chelsea defender would I buy? I'd go Chalobah. I think he's the most nailed at the cheapest price. You're thinking Reinders and Raya to Pope and Enzo for free. Yeah, you can do that. That would give me the money, actually. That is an interesting one. I think I'm going to bin Tarkowski. Start Mark Guiu. I expect Mark Guiu and Krupi Jr., both the cheap forwards, to start this week, yeah. Krupi Jr. has the bigger chance of playing because Evan Nilsson is out, so he just is going to play, I think. There is a chance that we don't play with Mark Guiu up front and João Pedro goes up there, but I don't think that will happen. And Burma or Caicedo, if you've got Burma, I think you've got to play him. Do I play football? I used to. I don't play anymore. I used to play a lot. And Dial Enzo, if I had to choose, I'd buy Enzo. Partly because Ndai goes to AFCON and Enzo doesn't. So I know it's a long way away, but it's just an extra transfer that you don't have to worry about. And the Chelsea fixtures are great short term. The Everton ones are not so much. Study Hack, thank you for upgrading your membership. All the links you need. If you're a member and you are not in all the WhatsApp communities, all the links you need are in the perks under the... if you go to the membership tab, click perks, and the link will be down there. Typical, I get Gabriel in my club team the week he gets injured. What are the chances of that? I was so happy I got him. And then he looks like he got injured, but I think he'll be okay. Start Esteve or Munoz? Esteve. Esteve or Munoz? Probably Munoz. Triple Chelsea sounds sane. I did it last year and it didn't go particularly well, having triple Chelsea every week. So, and that was triple Chelsea attack. And it was at the same time that we fell apart a little bit. So probably not. A double up is fine. Isak is a doubt for this weekend. I will imagine that Isak is on the bench at most. I'm almost certain he won't start. How patient will I be with Gyökeres? The issue I've got with Gyökeres, right, is if I want to sell him to Saka, I'll only sell him to Saka if Saka outdoes him. But then I'm too late. Because, like, if Saka does better than Gyökeres this week by a distance, and then I decide in game week 10 to make the swap from Gyökeres to Saka, then I'm already too late. Like, I've already missed the points. That's the issue with it. So I don't know. He won't be in my team by game week 13, I don't think. Of course, you never say never. If he starts banging in the goals, then maybe. But, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if Mateta is predicted. Mateta may well be predicted to rise in price tonight, and I will be tempted to do João Pedro to him, although I probably will try and wait till tomorrow, at least, to see João Pedro play. Enzo a must this game with the Gu starting and João Pedro being number 10. It makes him marginally worse. It still makes him a pretty good pick, though. Cool. Right now, it doesn't look like Mateta rises tonight. No, it doesn't. But I know a lot of people have said they're giving João Pedro one final week and then they'll go to Mateta. And I wouldn't be surprised if loads of people make a Friday night transfer to do it. My transfers for the next few weeks will depend on what I want to do with Gyökeres. I do have the plan to do Gyökeres to Saka next week if I need to. João Pedro to Mateta potentially. Yeah. Yeah, nothing on the Leeds team. Nothing on Leeds or West Ham. My certain Salah starts. I don't see Salah not starting, no. But I don't think he's worth the money in FPL. But I think he'll start if you've got him. Josh Acheampong, I give about a 40% chance of playing this week. Those asking, no, I am planning on making transfers. I'm just waiting closer to the deadline to see if there's anything on the Leeds team because one of the transfers involves buying a Leeds player. Yep. As I said at the beginning, I plan on buying Enzo, but I just need to know that the Leeds... Well, I don't need to know. I need to wait and see if there's anything negative on Leeds. Like, let's say he doesn't turn up at the training or the ground or something. But I'd be surprised, but I'm just going to wait. GW minutes prediction, 65. Eugene, let me take a look. Bench Minte or Sarr? I'd probably play Minte over Sarr. Enzo a must? No. Reinders and Bruno to Enzo and Gakpo. Reinders and Bruno to Enzo and Gakpo. It's probably fine, yeah. Reinders or Enzo, buy one. I wouldn't buy Reinders. I definitely wouldn't buy Reinders. Van der Ven or Estev, I'd probably play Van der Ven. Gavardio to Chalobah for free. I think that's fine. Like I would rather Munoz, I think, and just play Gavardio this week and Munoz next week. But I don't think Mateta will increase tonight. Keep an eye on the Fantasy Football Scout price change predictor, which is in combination with Live FPL, which is ranked the #1 most accurate price change predictor. And you don't even need to have an account. It's not behind a paywall or anything. Completely free. Yeah. But keep an eye on it this evening. It is linked in the description, or just go onto Google and type Live FPL price change predictions or Fantasy Football Scout price change predictions. That's the benefit of having a cup that keeps your cup of tea warm for 2 hours. João Pedro or Krupi Jr.? I'd still go João Pedro if I had to pick one for this week. How long have we got? We've got 12 minutes. Right. Cool. Foden to Enzo or roll? Yeah, I'd sell Foden. Yeah, I'd sell Foden. No, the plan still remains to sell Stack and Tarkowski. I could at least buy someone instead of Anderson because Gabriel's a doubt. I just let Richards get 3 points probably. Hopefully he'll get DEFCON and then he can just... and then, yeah, just sub in if Gabriel doesn't play. It's just not worth a transfer. Let's manifest those green arrows. Absolutely. Absolutely. Start Ndai or Krupi Jr. Ndai. Van de Ven or Gay. Van de Ven to Burn. I don't mind that as a transfer. I haven't seen any news on the Leeds team on anything. If you see it on Twitter and you want me to see it, please tag me in it. Just underneath the tweet, just at me. And then I'll have a look at it. Like I've got all my mentions on Twitter. That's what is in front of me. I'm looking at my mentions. Yeah. Just searching FPL Harry. So if you tag me in anything, I will see it. Who's better, Rodon or Goodmanson? If you've got the 0.1 and it doesn't impact future moves, then Rodon. He's better for DEFCON. Any 4.4 defenders to replace? I just go down to a 4.1. There's no one really at 4.4. Like you can look at Van Heck, but I don't think he's any better than a Mukiele or a Rodon. Start as Stev or Diouf. Probably Diouf. Yeah, probably Diouf. Who's better this week, Raya or Dubravka? I'd go Raya. Cool. Right, 9 minutes to go. I don't think we're gonna... Don't think we're going to see anything on Leeds. I wasn't particularly expecting anything, but yeah, was worth holding out to see. Right. Would I go to a 3.9 million defender if it allows your team to work perfectly? You could punt on Tuan Zabi at Burnley, who started the past 2 games and probably keeps his place. It's not guaranteed forever, though, but he's probably the one I would go with, and I have considered it. Right. Cool. So, Tarkowski to Rodon. One Leeds player to another. Stack to Enzo, I think. I could sell Reinders, though, and then just keep the money in the bank. That's the only thing. Oh. Like, I could do either of them to them. But... Reinders, of course. Sell Reinders. Keep the money. Keep the money. I just think we're still one, like, goal away from Reinders suddenly being back on the radar. Reinders is done. Bank the cash. Sell Stack. Keep the money. I'm probably not going to start Reinders, but I do think we are, like, a goal away and suddenly everyone's like, yeah, like, he's still got enough returns over the course of the season. Like, he's still fine. I still don't think we're that far away. Like, all it takes for him is to hit a couple, like... 2 back-to-back returns and then it's fine. I think I'll just sell Stack. Stack was always the plan. If I'm going down to Rodon, if I'm going to Keane, then I have to sell Reinders. But right, let me Tarkowski out to, who did I say? Rodon. And Stack to Enzo. Finally, we're making some transfers. I could go Keane. I've got 0.3 in the bank, so I can't go Keane if I'm upgrading Stack. Chelsea defense. Yeah, I don't mind that. I'd go Chalobah. Oh. Tarkowski to Rodon. Stack to Enzo. Reinders' fixtures are bad for the next 4, yeah, but then they get really good again. Like, it starts with Leeds at home. So I just think I would say there's a 20% chance that Reinders becomes a good pick. And I would say there's a 5% chance that Stack becomes a good pick. So I'd rather take the chance. Fiona, I'd play Strand Larsen despite how he's been disappointing. Does Wan-Bissaka start? I don't know. I probably would expect him to. Reinders could drop in price. That is the only thing. That's the only thing. Tarkowski to Rodon, Stack to Enzo. Tarkowski to Rodon, Stack to Enzo. And there we go. Rodon in, Enzo in. Other 2 transfers rolled. Captain Haaland, vice captain on Bruno. Double Chelsea attack for 1 week. And then Rodon for 1 week. FPL mate has tweeted. Yeah, he says, I don't know. I'm not regretting it. I'm just not used to making transfers. I just thought whole point of this game was you just pick a team and you stick with it every week, and you're not allowed to make transfers. I did just say all it takes is a couple of back-to-back returns, or suddenly everything's fine. But yeah. Dewsbury Hall, a sell before the price drop. No, I have actually wondered about buying Dewsbury Hall if he drops to 4.9. But I probably won't do it now I've sold Stack. Start due for Rodon. I'll probably go Rodon. One of the Arsenal journalists just tweeted an Arsenal predicted lineup, which doesn't have is very different, and I just think he's out for. I'm not reading that out. Anyway, we've got 3 minutes. Let's do a little bit of quick fire questions. Keane or Rodon if money's important in the future? I just go Rodon. Watkins and Sterve or Reinders to start? If I had to start one of them, I'd go Reinders. Start Mark Guiu or Reinders? I'd probably start Mark Guiu over Reinders. Probably. Reinders or Sarr. There is the benching ranking in the top right. Let me put that up for slightly longer now. If you're looking for start bench players, in the top right in just a moment will be the full list of players for you. Check that out now. Bruno or Mbermo. If you've got the money, then still Bruno. Stack or Kudus. Kudus. Start Caicedo or Reinders. Caicedo. Start João Pedro or Tarkowski. João Pedro. Let me just check my team and then I can just rattle off those quick fire questions. Right, hang on. It's weird making transfers. I don't know what to do with my team. Cool. Captain Haaland. Vice Bruno. Cool. Van der Ven or Goodmanson. I'd start Goodmanson. Bench order is fine. It will just sub Richards on. Ndiaye or Caicedo start. Ndiaye. Start Paqueta or Grealish. Probably Grealish. It's Guiu, sorry. Dewsbury Hall or Mateta. Probably Dewsbury Hall. Dewsbury Hall or Josh King. Dewsbury Hall. Reinders to Enzo and Van Dijk to Burn. I don't mind that. If you could find another way to keep Van Dijk, then maybe Rodon or Thiago. Probably Thiago. I think he's been great. Sarr or Xhaka. Probably Xhaka. Dubravka or Pope. I'd start Pope. That is going to be the final minute before the deadline. Please go and check your teams. That is all the questions that we are going to be answering. There is less than a minute to go until the deadline. Please go and check your teams. That is all we are going to be answering right as of now. That is going to be game week 9 in the stands, it's game week 9, and that's where we're at. And I made some transfers. Who'd have thought? Game week 9 team. Lock it in. I need to put my phone on the fast charger for a minute. 2 transfers made. I didn't roll. I did Tarkowski plus stack out. Rodon plus Enzo in. Two transfers saved. Good luck, everyone. Have a nice weekend. Right. And then just on to Twitter. Cool. I'm actually all right with how my team looks this week. There we go. I made some transfers. I know. How exciting. How exciting. Right. Let me take slow-mo down. First up, very briefly, and let's take it out of subscriber only mode. All you've got to do is predict a random player in the chat. Have I got a club pack to open? I do. I want to see a prediction of a random Premier League player. If you want to download Club, you've seen me playing it. It is my favourite side game to FPL. And every few hours you get given a pack. And if you like the player, you get to add them to your lineup. I could really do with a midfielder because I've got Tonali who's a doubt and I've got Xhaka starting away at Chelsea. I need someone with a good fixture this week. I really need someone. In my last pack though, I got Gabriel of Arsenal. And now he's flagged, which is a slight worry. But let's see who we're going to get. You can download it with the QR code or in the link. It is honestly so good. If you like Ultimate Team and you like FPL, like either of those things, just give it a try. And I just gave it a try after being on a stream, on a podcast with Ross. And I've played it ever since. I loved it. Who's it going to be? Base? Core, please be at least a rare. Yes. Elite. Forward. I don't need a forward. Who's it going to be? Ooh. He's got Arsenal away this week, but I really want him. He's a really good one from next week. Sarr. But that means I then lose my budget because I've got Gabriel. Oh, this is an issue. Lacroix is going to have to leave. Right. I'm going to release him. I'm going to keep Sarr. He's not going to start for me. This is my lineup. Ndiaye, Semenyo, Pedro, Tonali, Fernandes, Xhaka, Paqueta, Gabriel, Calafiori, Senesi, Pope. Sarr is on the bench with Munoz and Richards and Henderson. I've got 4 Palace players all on the bench this week away at Arsenal. You called it. Scroll up. Well, you did say Sarr. To be fair to you, did. I need a midfielder. I know. Is there anyone on the loan market? I could get Reinders on loan. Do you think Reinders on loan? Do we think Reinder's on loan? I don't know. I could get Reinder's on loan and bench Xhaka. Although Xhaka's sort of base points is not bad. Get rid of Tonali. I mean, he's been quite good in this game. You get points for like passes and stuff in this. Right. Let's go back to the mainstream and very quickly pick the FPL Challenge team. This is what I went with. Players who have been at the club for 5+ years and double points. 1 player per club. I've gone with Pickford, James, Saka, Salah, Bruno, Jared Bowen. Saka is the armband. I might move that to Salah just because Saka is wasn't in the training photos. But that is the way that I've gone. That's the team that I've gone with. If you want to join the Fantasy Challenge League code, it is right there for you. The link to join the Fantasy Challenge one is in the bottom. Is in the description. The main league is up above if you still haven't joined that. Anyone who finishes in the top 25k of my overall and is in my mini league will donate. I'll donate money to charity on your behalf. We are going to wrap up that stream though, as I need to get ready. It's a Friday evening and I'm going to see some friends. Have a lovely evening. Hopefully we're back here next week celebrating some Rodon points or celebrating some Enzo Fernandez points. To those of you who are still in, thank you very much for sticking around. Thank you very much for joining for all of the stream. I massively appreciate it. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. This is how the team went. Good luck to you all, and I will see you all very soon.